Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Hi. So nice to see you all. Maybe, so we are on live on Facebook right now. Hi, all my Facebook peeps, and um, they're coming. Something. I'm not the most tech guy. So what happens is that if it doesn't work exactly as it's supposed to, I have no backup. Like I'm like, oh, it didn't work, and that's all I have is so I just went through a little panic. But it seems to be working. We are on Facebook, and if it didn't come up on YouTube, that's okay. We'll be fine. I see Barb is here, and Bonnie's here, and Justin, and Allison, and Jennifer, Kathy. I feel like and I feel like Mr. Dress Up when I get to say the names of the people that are in our Facebook audience. Good to see you guys. Wow, and nice to see Alena is here from Indiana.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. And my friend from Saskatchewan, uh,
Bev.
Bev. Yes, Bev's here from where in Saskatchewan again?
Priestville.
Yes. Thank you for coming in, for joining us. And Ian's, or Ivan's in. Where are you, Ivan?
I'm up at a northern work camp just north of Fort McMurray at the moment, but I live in Canmore.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us here. It's fun that we're doing the Zoom and having the Zoom on live on Facebook and YouTube as well. So I'm glad that you guys are here. And welcome to our friends that are on Facebook and watching. And I've had quite a day. It's interesting. What's happened for me is that something has shifted for sure, and especially when I think that I'm going to be tonight in front of a group of people, and with what's happened in our country today, the how do I share, you know, and in this. You know, and I'm talking about that in Nova Scotia in the last couple of days that, you know, we lost so many people to a mass shooting, and certainly this is sad. There's no question that, you know, and I get the sadness, but what I wanted to share is that watch the mind, because with our mind, hi Trev, with our mind, we want to try to understand, and it's clearly. I don't want to say that you guys have crazy minds. I'll just talk about my crazy mind, and my crazy mind often, you know, wants to run the show. My crazy mind wants to understand everything. My crazy mind wants to make judgments on everything. This is why this happened. This is why that happened. This is, you know, and when we take a situation, and there's so much going on the planet right now, but in the middle of what we're kind of paying attention to, which is this virus, and how we're all on retreat at home, you know, for weeks and weeks, could be months and months on retreat at home, and and we've lost, you know, the idea that we had security, or the idea that we, you know, when we think about this thing, that, you know, it makes sense for us not to even leave our house, or it makes sense for us to, we can't plan trips or anything like that. We it's easy for us to get lost in the mind around this. Why is this happening? And you know, what did we do? And all of that. And generally, I believe that we can be very self-centered, and not really very compassionate with folks around us. And maybe it's me. Maybe I can just be very self-centered and thinking about how, you know, I'm trying to make sense of things. And so I just want to share that what I came to today was that, the what could I do as opposed to what does this mean, or why did this happen, or why is this happening, but what can I do? And I come back to always the same thing, that the most important thing I can do is be present, to be here now. Every possibility in my world is in the moment. Is it my full potential is only now. When I'm in my mind thinking of why did this happen, based on my limited knowledge, I have no idea. I don't know. I can only see a sliver of what's happening. I can't see the full thing. I in a way, we don't even know ourselves, let alone what's happening in somebody else's world. And but what I can be is present. And if I want to do something, I can offer love. And so I'd like to just, in our meditation today, when we start, we're going to have a kind of an opening meditation. I'd like for us all to maybe focus a little bit of our love on the families and friends and of these folks in Nova Scotia, that and they will have families and friends all over the world, but because a lot of those folks will be asking that question, why? They'll be saying, and they can get lost in it. It can make us crazy, and so it doesn't mean that we shouldn't mourn, or that we shouldn't, but just let's offer our prayers and our compassion, our love to them. I'm from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. I lived in Nova Scotia, and you think of Nova Scotia, it has a smaller population than the city of Calgary. It's a small province, and New Brunswick, it's next to it. It has a smaller population as well than the city of Calgary, and these folks all know each other, and they they know the family stories, and they know. I remember living in Moncton and knowing the story about everybody in every house. I knew the kids, and I knew their parents. I knew that, and we grew up that way. And down there, it's still that way. And the doors are never locked. We used to say, if I locked the doors, how would my friends get in? And that was the thing, and it wouldn't be uncommon to come home and find a friend sitting in the living room, and in our house, and that's the way we grew up, and I know that's the way it still is down there. And so when we meditate tonight, it's this touched me, this whole thing, and I watched myself drop into, why is this happening? And there isn't a why. We don't know the why. The why isn't. We're on a need to know basis. So we just make up stories about everything. Man, the stories keep us from being present. The stories actually keep us from finding peace and joy and love in our lives. We're in these magnificent made up stories, and if we don't have enough of our own stories, we can watch the news and they'll have a whole bunch of stories, and they're searching for the why. And and in the moment, though, let's be with, those that have passed and those that are left behind. And when we meditate today, and recognize that we're all here for a short stay, in a way, and, as we know time, and none of us have a guarantee on tomorrow. Not any of us have a guarantee on tomorrow. Only this day, this moment, this breath. And so kind of a somber note, I think, but still, what an opportunity for us. We're all facing our mortality every day, and an opportunity for us to look at those possibilities, and how do we be present, and still, to send love and compassion to these people. Let's do it in our meditation. And I'd like to start with a meditation. We'll have a 10-minute meditation right now. And you know, for those of you that don't have a meditation practice, or you're here because you're, you know, in a way wanting to learn to meditate, I'm going to guide us a little bit to start, and so we can drop in, and because I know there's people here that haven't, you know, that are still saying, you know, how do I meditate? And so I'm going to guide us a little bit, but then I'll kind of leave us. We're going to drop off. I'll take you in and drop you off, and so it's 20 after 7. We're probably going to meditate for about 13 minutes or so, and if you want to just find a place where you're comfortable and close your eyes and just drop in. I find that for me, the best way to bring myself into the moment and into meditation is through my breath. Breath is always in the now. If we ride on our breath, we're here, we're right now. As we drop in, just recognize that we are all one. We are all one. We are one with those folks that woke up a couple of days ago with a future, with an imagination of a future, expectation of a future. And those folks, even though they're not here in the physical sense, we're still one with those people. However we describe it, whether we think it's a soul, whether we recognize that we go back into the ocean of consciousness, we are still one with them. And I'd like to send, as we meditate today, let's send love to those folks that have passed and to their families. Recognize that they are us, that we are them. That in this moment, we're all safe. In this moment, we're all whole. We're in the breath. As you sit, if there's any sounds around you, just include them. Feel yourself in this body. Recognize that we are not our bodies. We're something beyond our bodies. When the body lays down, whoever it is that we are still goes on. We are not what we do. We are not what we have. We are not our emotions. We are not even our thoughts. We are beyond those things. And that we are beyond our thoughts, beyond our emotions, beyond our body, beyond our situations, is one with all. As we feel that, as we experience that one, we send love and compassion and calming to those that are affected. Those that are questioning, those that are afraid. You know, as we were meditating, and I was just having gratitude for my life that has led me to this. You know, it seems that for many of us to have an awakening experience, or to find the way out of the crazy mind, that we have to have had some pretty big calamities, you know, or things have had to fall apart in a way. So I don't know, but that's my experience, and a lot of the experience of people that I work with is that you know, shit has really hit the fan, and in that shit hitting the fan, an awakening comes, and the awakening is that, oh, life is not what I thought it was. And you know, many of us were taught when we were young that, you know, if we you know, we went to school and we got an education, that with the education we could get a job, and with the job we could get a husband or a wife. You know, and it might not have been quite that way, but those were the things we wanted in life, was a job and a partner, and then we'd have a family, and then, you know, our family would grow up, and we'd save some money for retirement, and I know this sounds a little simplistic, but a lot of us were fed that. You know, we had parents that even told us what we should do for a living. You know, where should we focus, and you know, many of us didn't have a question. I did. My question was, what the hell is going on here? I didn't seem to fit. I didn't fit in that model. You know, I actually didn't go to school. I did. I shouldn't say that I didn't. I did, but I didn't. I never stayed very long. And I was always wondering what was going on, and I experienced a lot of discomfort in my body, in a sense of I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't, you know, kind of feel like I was good enough, or I didn't feel like that there was a secret and somebody hadn't told me. And so for me, I found my answer in drugs and alcohol at a very young age. It was like, yes, you know, I figured out where they've been hiding the answer. And although that did turn around and bite me, and you know, I thought it was my deliverance, and for a short while it kind of was, and so what I'm talking about though is my perception of life, and many of us are still asking the question. You know, one is, who am I really? Because if we're not our body, if we're not our emotions, if we're not our thoughts, if we're not a mom or a dad, you know, we are those things. We're all of those things. We have those things, and they're part of our life. But if we're, you know, if we're not what we do for a living, an electrician, or a Ivan, you're an electrician.
Refrigeration technician.
Yeah, and if we're not these things, you know, that we label ourselves or even get attached to. I remember, you know, in my life being attached to things that I did, and realizing as life's gone on that those things have moved. But what stayed constant? What stayed constant is this thing that I was speaking about earlier, that's kind of the thing behind the thing that's watching the thoughts, not the thinker, the thing that we're all one with. You know, this universal intelligence has always been there. And so how do we connect when we're still in our mind thinking we are whatever we think we are? As we get older, we identify with old. We say, well, I'm just old, right? We have all these labels that we talk about ourselves and identify with, and there's no peace in that. You know, there's no peace in it. It's fleeting. You know, lately I've been helping out locally at a treatment center, and you know, I don't want to be. I'm not anything there. I'm not a counselor. I'm not the front desk guy. I'm, you know, the things that I get to do are just what I get to do. So what's come for me in the last few years is a release of thinking I know who I am, or thinking that I know what I'm supposed to be doing. and I've surrendered into the moment, and it's very blissful. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be anybody anymore. I can just be me in a way that, but there's no me, you know, so there's no right or no wrong, or no good or no bad. You know, I was full of judgment, full of, you know, like I knew what was right or wrong in every situation, or I knew if I liked you in a minute. and, you know, or didn't like you in a minute, and you know, full of complaint, you know, about Trev and I were out today driving in the car, and we got a lot of horn. People were beeping the horn at us a lot today. There was like a ton of, I think folks were really frustrated, and the only place they could actually have power was on that horn today. And so we were waving at them like they were, and you know, how high, you know, because they were beeping at us. I think we were poking along like we'd smoked a big joint. And of course we hadn't, but you know, anyway, so how do we want to live our life? You know, here we are in each moment. You know, my teacher for years ago used to say, you know, be here now. And I would be like, what is he talking about? Of course I'm here now, but I wasn't. I was always thinking. So how do I not be always thinking? And literally for me, I had to finally surrender the management of this. And when I surrendered, of course, my fear most of my life was that if I surrender, you know, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to end up living in the garage? Well, maybe. You know, am I going to end up living in what's going to happen? And so ego was always saying, well, you can't really surrender because, you know, I had to kind of lose everything to get there. And it was an awakening, and it's been happening, you know, this last year amazingly. And to not know, to be really not even okay with not knowing, just knowing that I don't know. I don't know all of these things that we've been, you know, taught. We think we know, you know, about afterlife, or we think we know about, what do we really know? You know, we have our own experience in this moment. And I know some of my history, I guess, and my perceptions in my history, but I really don't know. I only know my subjective view of it, you know, what I thought I saw. So I really don't know what has happened in my life in a way. I mean, I know I have kids, I guess, you know, I know that there's some things that are, but it doesn't really matter in this moment. What matters in this moment is nothing. So we can literally almost disappear into the moment, and into the moment is where, you know, all of the great teachers have told us all the power is in this moment. Everything that we could ever be or do or have comes out of this moment. And love is only in this moment. Love is not in the future. There is no future. Love is not in the past. So, and so I don't know. I'm just banging around with some stuff because it's not easy to see when we have judgments. I talked to a lady yesterday. I'll just tell a little story. And she was not very happy. She called me. She said, you know, we were messaging, and she said, I said, how you doing? She's not very good. So I just called her. You know, we were on Facebook, and I just called her. I said, what's going on? And she's lonely, you know, and she's feeling alone. And I encouraged her to feel that. I said, well, okay, just feel that. And then under that was a little bit of anger. And because in her mind, she should have somebody in her life. But she has a very narrow description of who that somebody should be. And so she's already decided, you know, that the somebody has to come in has to be a certain height, have certain finances, certain interests, And so it's a very tight hole to get through for somebody who might want to join her in her life. So how about if we just surrender and recognize that we don't know? You know, Trevor and I were talking about it today, and we were talking about just exactly that. I said, imagine for a moment, I said, if I was to have a lady in my life, I'd like her to be, you know, reasonably conscious. And then we both laughed because it's none of my business, you know, none of my business what really. It's just to let go of thinking that I know that. And, you know, it's kind of something that we can all relate to, especially if we're single. And actually, even if we're not single, we're with somebody, probably not, you know, not, I shouldn't say probably, but maybe we're with somebody and they're not the perfect somebody we thought they were when we first met them. Now they're actually quite real. They burp and fart and you know, right, mess the fridge up and leave things on put away and so we have all these judgments, and the judgments come from our past conditioning, and our past conditioning was what grandma taught us, and grandma was not happy, you know, and mom was not happy. And I'm not saying that that's a fact that they were always not happy, but there was complaint. And so there's a possibility through meditation, through you know, doing some of the practices. Through, it's funny, Paul used to say, you can't find it by looking for it, but you won't find it if you don't look for it. And what is it that we're talking about? We're talking about this moment, and it's, we can't be in this moment with our judgments and our fears. Although if we're in a judgment and we bring ourselves to it, I had one tonight earlier. Can I tell you a quick one? I had one earlier. Nathaniel made spaghetti sauce. we're four guys in a house, eh? And I cooked the beef up earlier, and Nathaniel made spaghetti sauce, and I came down after I'd been up in my room for a while. I came down, and it actually looked more like soup than sauce, and I had a, you know, out of my, it came up really quickly. I was like, oh. And I went out and sat in the deck and just kind of let it go. But I saw how this judgment came up, you know, this complaint came up. It was there. It's still in there. You know, not that one, but there. And the beautiful thing that's happened for me is I can separate now. I can see them, and they come and they're like, oh, look at that. And with fear comes through, I can actually watch it now, and I know I'm not the fear. I know, you know, that if anger comes up, I'm not the anger. It's like, oh, look at that. There's anger, you know? And so a certain freedom has come from surrendering all of the things I thought I knew, all of the ways I thought I was supposed to be, all the stuff I thought I was supposed to get. And to let go of that, to be in this moment. I had missed most of my life planning or complaining or wishing or, you know, wondering what's going to happen next. And so that's, you know, it's in the mind. So let the mind go. You know, we don't need to know. We literally, truly, everything we think we know is an illusion. And we're really on a need to know basis. We'll know as we need to know. And when we connect, then the intuition rolls in. We have what I call like a God consciousness, or a, you know, spiritual consciousness. It's just there in each moment. And we don't, you know, Alena was talking the other day how it's the magic, and it just unfolds in front of her. Boom. It's just opening. And you know, we just walk into this, you know, 5-dimensional universe as we move. It's just creating, boom, in front of us, and that really is the way it is. And except in the mind, we have this kind of a 3-dimensional idea of what might happen, and doesn't allow us to see what is happening. I hope that makes some sense anyway. So there's some, what I'd like to do, I've kind of run on a bit, there's myself and 4 others on the Zoom call. Could you guys imagine, speak for there's quite a few people on the Facebook, and Trevor, you've shared it here and there, haven't you? And Trevor shared it to the other, there's probably, I have no idea how many people are watching, but have you got some thoughts on some questions or some,
James beat me to a lot of the sharing, so.
Did he?
Yep.
Great. Any thoughts? Anything that, Bev?
Yeah. When you just say be in the now, I understand being in the now, because we can take ourselves to that place, but we are human. We do live. We have, we have our creativity that we need to express. So you have to look forward or towards something. Say just someone who's an artist. You need to go to that place. You have to plan to do your art. You have to be in all that. So I'd like you to explain what your idea of being in the now is. Because what I'm sort of thinking is I can't be in the now all the time.
Well, I call that the practical.
Yeah.
We still have to pay the heat bill, and kind of, lay that out in a way, or we still have to, we're planning, making a grocery list. I think that I call that the practical, and or if, you're an artist and you have a show coming up, to the thing isn't about not planning for the show. What I'm speaking about is not to be worried about who's going to be there or not there.
Okay.
Or whether they're going to like your art or not, and just to bring yourself to the moment, and I struggle with this, here we are, and ego says to me often, who do you think you are? David, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to do this? So, and so, yes, it comes up, and I look at it and smile. And I kind of look at it and smile. I say, well, I don't know. It wasn't my idea. And yet, and I look at the 40 years of kind of preparing to do this, I just didn't know that was what was happening. And so sometimes, like today, I took some time to think about what might happen this evening, in a sense of what might want to be said, or so we got this, so I took a little time to prepare the on the canvas, and but the thing that for me is to let go of who's going to be here. Or let go of if anybody will actually hear, or and just to show up
and be present.
Yes, and leave the results up to the universe. I don't know what anybody needs, really, and and it's so interesting, because if I say, well, if I do this for a year and a half or 2, maybe I could, we'll have 100,000 followers on YouTube, and all of that. It's just not my business, although Trevor and I do talk about it. We're on YouTube, trying to kind of make YouTube work for us, and Trevor's is become the YouTube guy. So yes, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I find becoming more present in the moment, like say I have a client that comes to my home and I'm doing a session. If I'm not present, then that session is not, it's not honoring that process that takes place. So that's what I know about being present, is that I need to be present for that person in that time, so that, you know, I can facilitate a beautiful thing. But I don't have anything attached to it. It's not my ego. It's simply offering that.
What do you
It's a
do?
love expression. I'm a Reiki practitioner, and I
Okay,
do all
great.
sorts of different modalities. So yeah.
Great. So
Yeah.
can I suggest something?
Mm.
If a client comes and maybe something, you have an idea of what the session's going to look like, and certain things that you like to do or you normally do, and it's not kind of happening. It's like, oh, you're feeling a little restless, or a little, something's not allowing you to come into the moment. Sometimes in my experience, that if we say, wow, we get present by saying, gee, I'm not feeling very present right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're present to the fact that
Yes.
we're not feeling very present. And like,
Yes.
so is what's happening. And then she may have some drama that she wants to share, or that something is going upside down in her life, and that she wasn't going to tell you. And you stop and took a breath, and kind of said to the universe what really wants to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it allowed, instead of us being kind of on a plan,
Mm-hmm.
you might never get to do the Reiki that day. It might be a different session altogether,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's sort of being nonlinear and just going into the moment and seeing what's needed. But it's very important to be present.
yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's being present to not being present,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
I love
Recognizing it, for sure.
years ago when I spent time with Paul, and Paul taught us to do what we called inner dialogue, because we have this thinking mind going on all the time. And so we would actually get in groups of 3, and we do it like a triad, and one person would be listening and the other 2 would just be allowing the stream to come, and so whether it's judgments, whether it was whatever, we just practice flowing it. And because a lot of what we do is filter, and when we're filtering, there's a gap, there's we're not really there, because we're saying, oh no, I can't say this, no, I can't say that, or I shouldn't say that, or shouldn't, and we're caught in the filtering. And the filtering is often based on wanting to be liked or not wanting to offend, or and so practicing, having friends to practice with, the inner dialogue, so that we can just say what's going on in the moment, and is a beautiful way to begin to recognize that, oh, we actually don't tell the truth often, because we're we're afraid to say whatever. Maybe the client comes in, you can tell they smoked a joint on the way over, and and you're not happy about the smell of that in your house, but I just made that up, I have no idea, but
All things can happen.
and rather than saying, gee, I wish you wouldn't smoke that on the way over, because it stinks up my house, you might not, and because you wouldn't want to offend them, or sometimes we're dependent financially, so we don't tell the truth, say, and anyway, I don't know where that came from, inner dialogue. It's
inner dialogue, yeah. And so, yeah, being in the now is just being present. I mean, yeah, I got
and telling the truth.
Yeah, and tell the truth. Absolutely, yeah.
And
yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. And I mean, we can Christian the truth a little, but
Well, truth, what is truth?
yeah, that's right. It is not truth. I often say, listen, this may be just total bullshit. When I'm with people, I'll say, this may be total bullshit. This is what's coming up. And I'll say it. And the person I'm with will say, well, actually, okay, thank you. And so, because I don't even know where stuff comes from.
Yes, exactly.
And whether it's from my judgment or sometimes, or whether it's it really something that wants to come through, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Are you still seeing clients?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm considering myself an essential service.
Yes, you are.
I am. So yeah, I do. I don't take everybody, but I certainly take people that I really know would appreciate and need a session. So yeah, I am. And I'm also driving people to appointments. I live in a rural area and there's no bus service here. And people need to go to the city for appointments. They have no vehicle. And so I've been driving people to the city for appointments, and it's just in, out, you know, it's no, but you know, just being cautious and safe, and people are generally, you know, distancing, but if they're not showing any symptoms, I'm not feeling paranoid or, you know, putting that fear thing in my field. It's not there. Yeah. It's not there.
Yeah.
I, you know, I've worked in lots of medical situations where, you know, you don't know what's out there. You still have to go to work, right?
That's right.
You're still safe. So yeah, that's my thought. So yeah, I am still seeing clients.
Nice. Good for you. I'm sure glad that you joined us. And I'm hoping as we go forward that, you know, more people come to the Zoom, and then we have all of this vehicle to, you know, to connect and yeah, it's great. I want to, I'm going to introduce Alena. Alena is a public figure in Indiana and beyond. And you have a podcast.
I have I'm on FM AM radio, and then I'm also have podcasts. You know, we're on Law of Attraction and everything else. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's all over the place. Yeah, it is. It's fun.
Elena and I did an interview
we did
this week, just a few days ago.
I saw it. It's so cool.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I did. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
yeah, I did. Fun. It was really cool. I love your energy.
Oh, thank you. I love yours.
Thank you.
Well, you two are actually not that far apart. I mean, Saskatchewan is just a little bit northwest of Indiana.
Yeah.
Right.
About a 10-hour drive.
I heard that. 10 hours. Woo. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
10 hours.
10 or 12
yeah.
hours. Not
10 hours to Saskatchewan or to Priestful from Calgary. So yeah, both the same. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to go to Toronto a lot. So, but that's not as far as you are. But I used to go to Toronto.
So anything come up for you in what we were sharing tonight, Alena?
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to say, you know, when you're present for clients and work and things is good, but even present when you're at home and you're, you know, I think the way I think of present is I do have my guidelines. You know, I know when I have to do something. And if I, like right now I'm writing a book, and if I just do it willy-nilly, it'll never get done. So I do set a time when I sit, but this is the thing, when I sit to do that book, I become totally present in, number one, the listening and to what it needs to be and making it happen, letting the creativity flow through me. If I'm with my kids, I'm not writing the book. I'm with my kids, and I'm fully involved with them. It's being in the moment, but it's like Dave said, it's our thoughts. So when I'm not thinking about the book, I'm not thinking about making dinner tonight. I'm playing with the kids and whatever game I'm losing. I'm with them, but I am fully present with them. And I think when you do that, that's when stuff starts to come alive.
Yeah, that's true. Just doing the dishes or watching a squirrel in the yard, or, you know, the simple things in life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right
I
now
got
I'm
you.
planting a garden. When I'm doing the garden, I'm
Oh.
doing that garden. I'm very excited about getting my garden in.
Good
So,
for you.
so, you know, that is, I think when you do that, you let go of the worry. And the worry is what keeps you disconnected.
That's so true. That's a
It
really good
adds
way.
resistance to anything. And when you're disconnected, then you cannot make things, you cannot let things happen. You can't progress anywhere, because then you're all over the place.
Mhm.
So it keeps the worry away, because there's no reason to worry.
Right. Very
Yeah.
true. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. That's the only thing I would add. I hope
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad. I used to do Reiki too. I only did it with my kids, but I'm a Reiki master also. So I love what you do. I mean, energy is everything. So yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
I've only
Yes.
done it with my kids though. I do not call myself a practitioner.
So how many kids do you have, Alena?
Me?
Yes.
Three
Three.
boys,
3 boys. And how many dogs?
2, and 1 cat.
Awesome.
You got a full house down there.
It's fun.
I want to tell everybody that Alena has a meditation on Wednesday at 1 o'clock your time.
1 o'clock Eastern. Yep. And this one's a little bit, it's a guided meditation. It has the sole purpose of starting to bring light into this world. And as you know, light disperses darkness. So I call it the World of Light meditation, and I guide you and I get you up there, and we all have that beautiful light just cover and bring in more light into the world, whatever that light may be. We do not judge what that is.
On Wednesday, I'm going to join you. And
yes, David's going to join. I'm
looking forward to being part of your meditation and sitting with you and listening to your guidedness.
Hear my drum.
Your guidedness. And
drum. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Are you drumming? Wow. Right.
Yeah, I'm going to be drumming away. The drum's bigger than me.
When you speak of light, I think of love. And
it is. It's all one.
So we have different words for often the same thing, you know. And when I think of love, I think of now. You know, Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now.
Right, he does.
The power of love. You know, and you know, so it's all kind of different
all related.
Words. Yes, but being in this moment, and the reason that I kind of go into things the way that I do is because I think it's the idea, I forget who it was, Socrates or Plato, that said, know thyself. And the idea of seeing when we're in our judgment, seeing when we're in fear, you know, becoming aware or conscious. Because I've kind of been around what I call the new age for the last 30 years. And in many cases, it's been just another doctrine.
Yes.
It's been another.
I agree.
And it has,
I agree. A lot of dogmas.
Yeah. And so, on a personal level, if somebody that I'm speaking with, or if somebody gets, you know, that they're tired of feeling fear, or they're tired of you know, feeling confusion or uncertainty and
anxiety,
and anxiety, or what, yes, and or they're upset and they're tired of being angry.
Yes.
You know, so those are the I mean, that's the real shit.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
It's the real stuff. And so how do we work with that? So I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, and I don't want to muck around in that stuff.
Right, we don't.
My experience is that if we become aware, oh, look, I'm in judgment of my neighbor, you know, because of the way they mow the lawn, whatever, you know, right? I'm in judgment of my neighbor because of the color he painted his house, you know, and
Mhm.
and so we start to recognize that if we let go of those judgments, we go, oh, look at that, you know, first of all, it's not even my business, and you know, who cares what color they painted the house? And so we surrender, and as we surrender each time, we're then in the moment, we're there, you know, we see
Mhm.
anger, we let it go, we see fear, and then we let it go, and we become, it's a process of waking up, you know, and you know, an ego will say, yeah, but who's going to look after things if you're not managing it with anger, fear, and and you know, the tools that we got as children often, you know, we're still
Yeah.
using those, you know, and many of us are living like adolescents and you know, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old bodies. And we're still trying to get our way with anger, or we're trying to get our way with pouting or self-pity. And so we have know thyself isn't so that I can do some therapy, you know, and try to shift
Right.
my, you know, to reframe or do cognitive, you know, but so that I can surrender, let it go in the moment, whatever it is, doesn't matter. If I have a car accident, you know, as long as I'm not too badly broken, I just, you know, okay, I guess we had a car accident, you know, without dropping into, you know, blame and fear. Blame is so pervasive for me. I went today. I should tell you a short story. I went today had to go to the registrar's office and I had some tickets that I hadn't paid. Right.
Truth.
Yeah.
And I went there purposely to get this, you know, to see. And I was thinking, oh gosh, there's going to be, well, it could be $500 worth of tickets. I thought, well, it was more.
Yeah.
It was more. And I'm not going to go into why I am not so good at paying tickets and things, but there I was. But the ego right away wanted to blame people I had loaned my truck to. Just like that. It was just there, you know. Oh, that bastard must have, you know, and you know, and I laughed about it. I got in the car, Trevor was in the car, and I said, well, this must have been so-and-so's fault. And then we both kind of laughed because I'm in a beautiful place to be able to see that it does that, you know. And it's like, so, you know, at one time in my life, I might have held on to that for days. But it just fell away. It literally fell away because I brought, well, attention, consciousness, the moment into it. It was like, oh, there it is. Look at that. I kind of see it in my body when things like that come up, you know. So blame, guilt is the same, you know, when we you know, we judge ourselves for something, and maybe it's something out of our distant past, and we're carrying that judgment, and with that judgment we, you know, we have guilt and shame, you know. So these are all things, if we become aware of them, we can surrender them, we can let them go. We don't necessarily need to become aware of them, but if we know ourselves, like I think it was Socrates said years and years ago, like years ago, know thyself. And it's not always easy, and it's not always pleasant to look at these things that we've kind of built our persona on, you know, and created our life experience, whether it be a pleasant one or not, because of of how we behave, our behaviors and our beliefs. And so I'm a big one for yes, and then there's no, it's not the new age, it's actually, it's the road to freedom, you know. And we get to see that we are not all those things. It's just a story.
So is this
Yeah.
where peace comes in? What is the your take on,
Peace. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I'm fairly dramatic, so my surrenders have been reasonably dramatic. They've been, fuck, okay, get it, I get it, I surrender. Please, please, I surrender. And I'm a praying guy. I can't, tell you much about prayer other than I do it a lot. And my prayer has always been, show me who you'd have me to be. Show me who you'd have me to be. Help me to see, what's happening here, where, what's going on, guide me and strengthen me, I have another prayer that's just thank you.
Mm,
Thank you, thank
that's
you,
a big
thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
Not for anything,
Hmm.
just thank you. And I don't understand all of that. I just know that something opened up, and it's like, oh,
Mm.
and but I really had to recognize in one level that I could not run the show. Running the show
I agree.
from my ego,
Mhm.
from always, got me in particular shit, and so I was reading the other day a book that I have here. Oh, a friend of mine recommended. It's actually a Christian reading, and I'm not a big Christian reader. But this guy's name was Henry Drummond, and he was the greatest thing in the world in other addresses. And of course, the greatest thing in the world was love. But he said in his writing, and this is turn of the century, that as we move closer to this Christ consciousness, this unconditional love, we naturally move into service more and more and more. And the mantra becomes, how can I serve? How can I serve? Show me what you'd have me to do. And we just, as we move closer to this, the light, to unconditional love, to God as we understand him, or don't understand him, we just we move into service. We become, servants to that freedom, and the more we get to share with others, the more we're seen to be lifted up. Trevor and I were talking today that helping others is, we get to see ourselves. We really sit and share, about the things that we just talked about. We really get to see ourselves, and then when, again, as I get to know myself, know thyself, we can surrender in each moment. It isn't so that I can correct myself. I think if I'm trying to fix me, I'm always
Fixing.
I'm always in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to manage. I'm always trying.
Yeah.
I'm always tired because it's
Just live it.
yes. And so surrender in each moment to what is, and what is what is.
Right.
And we don't, we actually in many cases don't even know what is. We, if I stop to think, about my life situation, my mind will make up all kinds of stories. So I surrender the story, and
Right.
I don't know what is, but our conditioning is very strong that we should be doing certain things at our certain ages. We should be doing, we have all this story, and just surrender it. Just, okay, here I am. Show me what you'd have me to be. If you have some belief in a universal intelligence, that we're, the spearheads, if you will, of an evolving something, and I do believe, I don't know if this is true, but I do believe that mankind is awakening, to love, and we get to feel this and experience this, and the teachers have been coming since Christ and before, with the story of awakening. And now we can go online, and there's dozens of them who are legitimate awakened beings that are showing us the way to this moment and to this experience. And I mean, look, I'm just some regular guy from, old biker from the Maritimes, and here I am, able to do this online, and so we're at a time when there's, I think, huge opportunity, and even what's happening on the planet, this volcano of the virus volcano, that's falling everywhere, and we're all on retreat and let's use this time to grow in our relationship with this moment, or God, or universal intelligence. That's I think this might be just, we want to go back out there and not have really taken advantage of this time, and there's several ways that we can take advantage of this time. One is that we can, sit and meditate, contemplate, look at ourselves. The other is that we can really reach out to people. I think that, it's so important that we reach out. A lot of people are hurting, and listen to them, like individually reach out and call people and say, hey, how are you? Talk to me, and just as an aside, I believe that in my little province here in Alberta, the government has put up over $50 million that they want to put into mental health and addiction right now. So above and beyond the 140 million that they put in, that was extra earlier this year to over the next 4 years, but they put in this money because they recognize that a lot of people, as this goes on, are facing themselves. They're facing their life partner who, they've successfully avoided by going to work every day. They're facing their children. They're facing, their reality. And so those folks need us. I believe that it's an important time for us to step up and say, okay, put me in, coach. Where can I help? And have that prayer every day. Where can I help? How can I be of service to my fellow man? And share the love. And this is the time. And as we share it, we grow in it. There's no, it's unlimited. And there, just the more we kind of, it's like going to the gym. The more we use it, the stronger and the more it comes, in a way, and the more confident we get to be able to say, hey, you are the love. And this is not, a lot of people have been living in the illusion of security, and now the security isn't there. They're like, holy shit, who am I? I've lost my job. I'm at home with this lady who I don't really know, who I've been married to for 15 years, or this man who I can't get out. So I'm making up a bit of a dramatic story, but still there's lots of that out there, and the liquor stores are busy, really busy, because people are like, how do I be in this, and Netflix is really busy, because people are, it's hard to be in this moment, the reality of the moment for a lot of people. And so we're going to see stuff like what we saw in Nova Scotia. I'm not saying they're connected. I just, though there's going to be some
You feel there's going to be more.
Yeah. And people are taking themselves out. Trevor, you were going to say something.
Oh yeah, I was gonna comment because I forget the name of the lady right below me on my screen.
Alena?
iPad.
Me?
Oh,
Alena. Hi.
Bev.
No,
Bev.
not Alena.
Bev.
No,
Bev.
not Alena.
Yeah.
Oh,
What Bev mentioned about art and our discussion earlier, David.
Yes. I like how you said David.
Yeah. Well, there's this. We were discussing art because I'm an artist, and like all throughout my 20s and stuff, I was always like overly concerned with art as being like a form of self-expression. Art being like this thing that, I had to kind of wring satisfaction out of it and like kind of get other people's approval. And, you know, that whole game is like kind of like, especially in contemporary art circles and that, it can be very, you know, dog eat dog and stuff like that. And what I've discovered is that if I'm coming not from a place of selfishness, a place where I'm like, I got to express myself. Oh, I got to make sure that everybody understands what I'm doing and buys into this illusion that I'm like trying to put up in that. And if I'm actually doing art from a place of service towards other people, it allows me to be in the moment more. And it's also like the reward for me doesn't matter so much because I'm there to do a service for others, you know, and I'm putting others above myself and my own, you know, self gratification, self-centered, ego-driven reasons, right? I'm doing it for, and if I'm approaching doing art from that place of being of service to other people, then the goal is already accomplished. And also it just allows me to be doing it for that purpose. And regardless of how people react to it, it's none of my business anymore.
Right.
I know that it came from that place that's different. It's a more spiritual place when I'm putting others above, like, because yeah, all throughout my 20s, I mean, I was like, I kind of liked the fact that I was doing what I wanted to do, but I wasn't doing what I wanted to do either. I was doing stuff so that I could wrest satisfaction out of like other people's thoughts about me, and it wasn't working. And I think that goes for like a lot of different places, like not just art, but other jobs or vocations or whatever as well, right? I mean, it could even, for some meditators or Reiki practitioners, it could come up, right? And so, yeah, it's a pretty interesting place to like actually just shift my consciousness to like an entirely different reason for doing the things that I'm talented at. I think that brings me into the moment a bit more, and there's less expectation, and I'm leaving more up to the universe. And it's a beautiful thing to come from that place of service and come from that place. So
it's kind of interesting. That's really great. Yeah. I'm having a really hard time getting a business card together. I retired from my mainstream job, and now this is what I want to do in my retirement, so-called. I want to shift my doing things I want to be doing now. Stayed in a job that wasn't particularly good for me, but it was still in the caring industry, so you know it's okay. But it became too much. So now I can't put a business card together. There's something that's holding me back from advertising because it doesn't feel right. I don't know what that is in my head, that I just want to be of service. If someone decides they want to come and see me, I feel more comfortable with word of mouth instead of putting myself out there as a kind of a pseudo professional in what I'm doing. And it's just a weird, I'm really struggling. I mean, honestly, I ordered the business cards and they came and they were nothing what I ordered. It was totally not on the right paper, nothing. They didn't have any information on the back. And so now I don't have this business card, and I'm really having to think about, what is this business card all about? And where am I really coming from? So I understand, you know, I've just been fighting this, not being able to, I'm stepping into it, but not in the traditional way, I guess.
That's okay.
Can
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
well, just a second. Maybe there is.
Well, I mean, if it's a block that keeps you from your progress, but a business card, no, there's ways you can find out though. But Dave's the one who's running this show. So, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
there's nothing right or wrong with anything, and it is a fact. But
Right.
let's imagine though that what comes to mind is a song I listened to recently by Leonard Coen. And Leonard said, forget your perfect offering. Everything has a crack in it. That's how the light gets in. And often ego wants us to have everything lined up before we come to the world with our offering. You know, here we are, here you are, you know, with an amazing offering. And so just watch where fear, where, you know, an idea of not good enough or can pop in sometimes and keep us from really shining. My gosh, if I had to get this perfect to do what we're doing, we would never be here. And you know, you guys were here earlier. I even had to work the technology on this thing. So just recognize that there is no perfect offering. It's all a perfect offering.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can hold ourselves back. You know, so is this deeper? You know, is there this, you know, can you see a possibility that there's a fear of?
Yeah, the fear comes in of actually stepping into something, because I've been doing it for many years, but it hasn't been my main thing. It hasn't been, it's a sort of a fear of putting myself out there, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's being vulnerable.
Well, I could sure relate to that. And Alena, I suspect, you know, here you are writing a book. It can't be more vulnerable. I mean, then
True. Especially the way I'm writing it. It's very vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we're called, if you feel called, if you believe you're actually doing, you know, let's call it God's work, or let's call it, you know, love's work. You know, what would love do? Would love have you be visible? Yes, I think love would have you be seen. You know, I don't know that, but you know, what would love do? So and be that love. And people need to find you. If you have a vision that it would be nice to do X amount of Reiki sessions a week, and a business card is how you get seen, then be that love, you know. Or maybe you do a little show like this that really puts you out there. You know,
well, it's baby steps, man. Yeah.
you know.
No, thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to ask Trev if he's doing any art now.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, good.
No
But
fear
it's
there.
like right this second. Doodling all the time. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
If we're in service,
Yeah.
then we're in service. We can't. We in a way we can't screw it up.
Yeah. I really like your words about the love.
Yeah. How can I give back? How can I give as much as possible? Show me where to give. We ask in our prayer, you know. It's then it's really not our business how, you know, in a way how it's received, and if it's received and it brings stuff up for us, then it's a possibility for our growth and for us to see, you know, we want to be liked, or we want to be whatever, you know, and just let that go and trend it. Ivan, you haven't said much.
Yeah, I'd love to. I have a bunch of thoughts now, actually, Dave. Just let me filter them for you. But you know, when we first did that meditation, I mean, I'm only becoming familiar to this line of work within knowing you in the last year. But for that meditation, I found myself looking for what the moment is, or what it's supposed to be, or what it might be. So I was trying to put this identity to it. And it's not that I've never reached it at any point in time. I am conscious of it now, a lot more than I ever have been. But I just feel that there's a lot of utility in it today. And I mean, if I were to put a guesstimate on how many people are out there conscious full time, it might be like 5% of the world's population. So, and it's easy to see, and this is me judging the world, but you know, there's a lot of angry, emotional people walking around unconscious now that you talk about it. And really, if you just give it a moment, if you're aware of it, it's a really simple concept, or seems to be so simple at times, you know? So I think there's a lot of utility in it, you know?
That's an interesting word. I wouldn't have called it utility. You mean a lot of positive use, or a lot of what does utility mean?
Utility being positive use, yeah, in the world, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like practical.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you imagine if you had 50% of the world's population that was able to be conscious 50% of the time of their thoughts and their emotions, how much better it might be.
A lot of positive use, or a lot of what does utility mean? Adrian, I think you still have your
In the world,
Facebook on.
for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, buddy. So yes, I hear what you're saying, and just even for you to start to integrate the possibility of of consciousness, of actually awareness of ourselves, or of this, is the first step in, it really is and for you to be able to see that how practical that could be, to really be here and to watch what's happening,
Well, I had the same questions as Bev did at the beginning, and a lot of times I do, because I get the misconception that it's, does it stop you from taking action in life? And that's not what you've said it means, or what it actually means. But the utility comes for me at work. It comes for me in my relationship. I mean, it's not all the time, but when you can get there, and when you can stop yourself, or like you say, watch your thoughts, there's a huge use there. It improves things every time. So
being in the now is the utility thing?
sure. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, cool.
Adrian, have you been watching?
I just joined a few minutes ago. Yeah, I heard a couple of people.
Everybody, this is Adrian, and he's my buddy, and we've. It's funny. I saw Adrian last night on the side of the street. He and in like 30 seconds, we were into it. we were talking, consciousness, or and in 2 minutes he told me that I wasn't that there was no me, and then he left. And because we were talking about, I'll just share it.
What was it that you said? You said something, and then something wasn't because of something, and then I said, "Well,
well, yes, so there's always another step into the thing. I said to Adrian that how the psyche, or the ego, or the mind, wants to judge experiences as good or bad, or right or wrong, or and make up a story about experiences in our life, and he said, why are they not good or bad?
right? Why aren't they good or bad?
Why are they not good or bad? I said, well, because they just are. And he said, what did you say?
Well, I said, they're not good or bad because the one that believes to be judging something good or bad doesn't even exist.
And then he got in his car and drove away.
So meaning, like, our persona is an invention also.
Yes.
Not just how we interpret the world, but and judge it as good or bad, and that doesn't mean that there isn't beauty. That doesn't mean there isn't evil and things like this, as it appears. But that's not what we're really talking about. That it's more this daily guiding, judging principle that gets us into so much inner trouble all the time, because we're always fighting against reality, or what appears to be appearing. And I'm saying that like that for a reason, appears to be appearing, because it doesn't just appear as a fixed reality. Our interpretation of it has a lot to do with how we're perceiving it. So what to one person is good, to the next person is bad. So it's not a fixed thing, good or bad. Actually, it's just an interpretation.
Oh, and of course, beyond that, that this, you know, this idea of me is just an idea of me.
Yes, and then taking it that step further, it's like it's just this self-image that's been created through conditioning and so on. And it's not, when we investigate, we can't find a person there.
When we drill in, you know, it's like, oh, there's nothing. You know, it's just all these ideas of myself, or all these, you know, conditioned beliefs of myself. They're just, and none of it is real. And when Trevor and I talked about this afternoon, my question, of course, was, have we gone too far? Because in some cases, that, you know, that's a step beyond where we might want to go this evening. You know, because, you know, but look at this. You know, I mean, earlier, Adrian, we were speaking about know thyself, Socrates, you know, and so allowing ourselves to become aware of stuff as it came up, you know, whether it was guilt or shame, or whether even if it was joy or some idea of love, that to watch and see these things as they move, so that we can surrender them. And as we surrender all of these things, then there's no persona left. There's just this amazing emptiness that we live from in each moment. And just like Adrian just said, is
and I think, David, going too far would only be if we tried to describe too much what that is, because ultimately that is the discovery. No,
yes,
as you often say, as we sink in, you use this word, as we sink in, as we come into here, then one discovers for themselves what that is. And this is what the whole self-inquiry is about. Who am I? You know, as the who I am I question is not another title, it's not another persona one is looking for. You know, it's something much wider, much deeper, much broader, but also much less conceptual. Like it's no longer words that can now capture this,
not a story.
because it's a direct sense of oneselfness, so to say. But it's also the most natural self state in a way, because one has only ever always been that. It's the one consistent through one's entire life, even as body has changed, as title has changed, as economics have changed, and so on. So it's not an unfamiliar sense, but it's often overlooked.
Beautiful for Adrian to come on and say almost the same words, you know, that we had a meditation earlier, and in the meditation there was an opportunity to really connect with the folks that lost their life in Nova Scotia, you know. So the body fell, but they didn't, you know. And that we are actually one with them, even though they're not in the body, and that because the body is a persona, it really isn't us. It's just the thing we call us. And so it was, you know, I didn't expect to be able to share that, but it just came that, you know, we are the one with those people, and those, you know, and we, in the meditation, we took a minute to, you know, imagine love and sending love and prayers to them and their families, and
particularly their families and their community. I mean, this is such a deep shock amidst the current world issues. On top of that, it's just,
yes,
I really feel for the beings that are looking at this, spinning in circles, trying to understand how this
and the possibility to let go of needing to understand, you know, let go of wanting to blame, you know, or
I think like the 5 stages of grieving are fairly valid for most of us in terms of like the first, just not being able to accept it, the
Shock.
the shock.
The shock, exactly.
Mhm. But
Mhm.
for us, not being so close, we can send love.
Yes, absolutely.
We
Yeah.
can send love. We can, you know, in some way, and I don't know how, you know, if there is no time, if there is no distance, we are there. We can be there in our meditation and bring love and bring warmth,
Mhm.
and we don't need to understand that
Mhm.
we're not the ones in the shock, in the grief, you know, and
Mhm.
in a sense, not our persona isn't. So beautiful that you came in, my friend. I was wondering where you were.
I had some visitors.
Did you?
Yes, so it was very lovely.
Earthly visitors or?
I don't know. No, they were in bodies. I don't go to those crazy places. No, we kicked the ball around and we swung on the swing, and yeah, it was a child, 4-year-old, and
Oh, beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful. Well, we've been kind of at this for almost 2 hours, and you know, if do you, any of you have anything that you want to share before we finish? I mean, you are the voice of the people who are watching, and for anything else that's coming up, or
are you talking to anyone or me?
yeah, anyone, you, or there's 6 of us.
There's 6, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to say something.
Mhm.
I come from a medical background, and I just wanted to say that when people reach out to people that have been in the medical background, and you know, there's been trauma, and it's really hard. Like, there's so much PTSD that's being experienced in the medical profession, or EMS, whatever, you know, any of the frontline services, and it really makes a difference what you say, David, about just sending love, because you really do feel it and you need it very much. Because you witness things, you see things that you normally wouldn't see in an ordinary life, right? And so sending love to those people and everyone that was involved is the kindest, most beautiful thing, because in your silence and just sending that energy, it's felt. And yeah, so it's really important, because I've felt it and I know it. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing to do for someone,
Thank you.
for humanity, is to
Yeah.
send love. Yes.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
thank you. And the meditation that we do with Alena on Wednesday that's
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Light is
You'll
love.
have to
Yeah.
join us, my
I'm
dear.
going
You'll have
to,
join us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Starts at 1
It's-
of your time.
It's 1 my time, so it's 2 hours earlier for you, and it's on my page. So
Only
just
1
look up.
hour, only 1 hour earlier for her. 2 hours.
No, I'm the
it's
same
1
time as
hour
you,
earlier.
David.
How are
I'm
you?
the same time as you. Yeah, we stay the same time, and the
Oh,
province stays the same. So I don't know. I'll check your website though and see, or your page. Okay.
yeah, yes, yeah, and it's on Facebook. So just look up Alena Chapman, and I do it live.
Alena Chapman. Okay.
Oh,
C-H-
Alena.
Yeah. Chapman.
Oh, you got it, Chapman. Yep, with a P. Yep. Everybody
Okay.
spells it with an E, so very good.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yes, yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything before we go?
Well, I think you've done it. You know, I think it is love and surrender. When you surrender and you act from love, that's when you get the peace. That's when you get the peace. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Ivan, thanks for dropping in.
Oh,
Thank you for putting it on, Dave.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Guys, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
I just want to
Thank
share
you.
that Ivan is part of my men's team, and
Mhm.
we have a group of men that meet once a week, Thursday nights, and we're meeting on Zoom these days. But I've been meeting with these men, not particularly Ivan, but the men, I call them, for a little over 20 years now. And around the fire, we meet outdoors. And I've met,
Nice.
it's pretty cold nights outdoors with these men, and we've all grown together. And, you know, we've buried men, we've buried their dads, we've buried their sons, we've had life together. So beautiful to have community and to experience the closeness that we do. And the team that Ivan and I are on have young men in their 20s and 30s and men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So we're all, you know, really have an opportunity to share our life experiences. I feel honored to be part of that. So Ivan, thank you for coming and dropping in and being part of, you know, your curiosity about this world is, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dave.
So what I thought we'd do is finish with another meditation. We did last week, and so a short, and you know, if you, you know, for one reason or another that you can't stay, that's fine. Just, you know, but we'll just finish with another meditation, and let's. I'm going to look at my little timepiece here, and it's 8:48. Imagine we've been at this for almost 2 hours. So we'll
Someone's gonna die.
maybe do a little bit of guided, and your puppy behind you.
Yes. Taking up my seat. He hops right up there so fast, and then he
Yeah.
won't move. Oh,
Awesome. Well, let's
Yeah.
just drop in. Remember that the breath is so beautiful. Not only does it give this body that we're inhabiting life, but it brings us into this moment, conscious of the breath. It brings us into now. Just want to give thanks for this evening and for the openness and the honesty and the love that we shared. I want to thank, you know, universe and intelligence, whatever it is that allows us to share and have our hearts, our whatever it is, mix, our love mix, you know, to feel each other. And as we drop in into this moment, into our bodies, into the breath, just feel our hearts, feel your heart, symbolically the center of love, symbolically an expression of love. Feel our heart and feel that love. Just expand that love from you, from us in this moment. And expand it maybe in a bit of a directed way towards the folks that are still, even if it's the middle of the night in Nova Scotia, laying awake thinking, what happened? Send them this love so that they can sleep. Send them this love so that they can calm. Send them our love, our caring, our compassion, our thoughts. Allow them to see that even if we're not aware, that grace is in action. Grace, God's love surrounds us. It surrounds them. Just breathe into that. Expand our love to them. When we're truly present, we have so much love. We have access to endless love. Our bodies fill with love. Our rooms, our homes fill with love. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for those who make contributions. They help with the process. Thank you for your love. You lift us all up with your love. Thank you. Remember to reach out to a neighbor. Say hi to somebody, even that you don't know. Often they're just in their fear. Remember to call somebody, family, call somebody that you haven't talked to in a while, just to see how they're doing. Nobody's exempt right now from what's happening on the planet. So reach out, share your love, no expectations, only just to give, just to be there for them, listen to them. And through the week, if you want to call anytime, I'm available if you just want to chat. If you're like to, I just always suggest that there's some great teachers on the planet right now. They're all on YouTube. Muji, my favorite these days. Eckhart Tolle, Dr. David Hawkins, Ram Dass. Alan Watts. Great messengers, great pointers. So I encourage you to spend time with them and help, let them lift us to see ourselves, know thyself. So, love you guys, love you so much. If you feel, doesn't matter, feel my love. Thank you. Mm. Mm. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good seeing you guys all. Good seeing all you guys.
Good seeing you too.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Alena. And
Yeah, thank you.
everyone.
Elena, thank you.
Good seeing you, Adrian.
Mhm.
Nice to see you, Trevor.
Okay, see you guys later.
Good night.
Love you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.